What up, everyone? So, it's time for my monthly review. I finally got some time off, or at least a night off, to record this video. Because as each month goes by, I get further and further behind. But, you know, at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't really matter which month it is, because you just still want to find the best box, regardless of what month it is. But these are the boxes from April, and we are well into June by now, but I've been putting out videos a lot, but when you get, I think I have 17 boxes here this month. When you get 17 boxes, it's hard when you got to do a video for each one, so there's no surprise I get a little bit behind. So, we have 17 boxes, and quick little synopsis of what I do here and what the channel is about. Basically, I go through all these boxes and give them ratings to help you guys, whoever's watching, find the best box for you. I do the best I can. I use a rating system with dollar values, so on and so forth, to try and help you guys out. Now, I've lined these up. We'll start with number 17 and go to number 1, and I do the best I can to try and give them ratings, but that doesn't mean that these numbers apply to you. Some boxes may be good for you, some may not be. Although I've picked the number 1, you might like number 5. That's why I'm going to go through each one, and I'll show a picture of each one, because one might hit your particular interest. Other than that, I try to judge these based on the opinions of you guys, what I hear in the comments, the feedback I get, so it's not really my opinion, it's more your opinion. So that's how I've lined them up from number 17 to 1. And again, I'm just trying my best. I'm not perfect here. I wouldn't live or die by any of the numbers. They're pretty close sometimes, so don't get too caught up in that. At the end of the day, I'm just kind of trying to help. If I'm not helpful, no worries. One thing I should bring up that I hate that I have to bring up every month, but someone always makes this comment. I'm not saying, nothing I say about these boxes is negative. I don't have a single complaint about these boxes, so I constantly get the comment that I'm complaining about these. I'm not complaining. I have no complaints about them. I'm just reviewing. I'm being analytical. So some people may see that as like whining, but I'm just trying to review and be analytical. I'm just over-analyzing things to help out. In reality, I love all this stuff. I pay for all these boxes, and I love this stuff. So I don't want anything to be taken as a complaint or as negative or pessimistic anyway, because I'm just trying to be helpful and trying to be positive here. So I just had to get that out of the way, because that always comes up. Other than that, I'll probably say a few little tidbits here and there. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. I'll only talk on the box a little bit. I'll show the picture and say why it got where it did in the countdown, and then try to move this process along as quickly as possible. Because with 17 boxes, it's going to be a long video. There's not much I can do about that. Other than that, yeah, so some of these boxes are pretty close as far as the rating, so it's hard to judge which spot they get, but we'll talk about that as we go. So anyway, let's start off with number 17. And number 17 is Super Geek Box. Now, this was pretty low in the countdown last month, and it has been for a while. This company just hasn't been pulling it through. This box is they still have a market that they can advertise to, and I think they do. I think this is better for kids. I think because most of the things in here, I'll show a picture right now, were not branded. They're like aftermarket third-party stuff, which no one really likes, but something like if you got it for a kid, they wouldn't notice. They wouldn't really care if it's branded. They just like cool stuff like stickers and things like that. So there's still a market for this, but it's just not for most people. Not for most people that watch my channel, not for someone that's into more collecting and things like that, because pretty much everything in here doesn't hold any value and will never hold any value. It's basically for enjoyment's sake, which is great and all, but there's no collectability to it. It's just kind of there. And the t-shirt quality and stuff isn't that great. This one came with a hat, I believe, not a t-shirt, but still the quality's not super great. So they have a good referral program, and they're not the cheapest box. It's around $20, and they just haven't been doing well. And honestly, I don't think this company is going to be around much longer. I think everyone kind of speculates that, but who knows? But anyway, that's number 17. Number 16. Same deal. One-Up Box. Same exact story. Those two companies used to be One-Up Box. They split off, became Super Geek Box. But the same thing. These boxes are pretty much identical in what you get. Not as far as the exact items, but the type of items you get. You usually get a shirt and a plush or pop, and then a bunch of third-party stuff. Not branded stuff, things that they don't have licensing for, and it's the same situation. Again, I think this is geared more towards children for the exact same reason. Kids wouldn't care if things are branded. They don't care if someone pays licensing for it. They're not trying to collect it. They just want something to play with. So that should probably be their market. Other than that, same story. Value was fine, but you probably couldn't sell anything in this box for the most part. It's not going to hold any value. I doubt anyone's going to seek it out, especially since it's all third party. So both of these boxes were in the last spot in the countdown last month. They are this month, and they're most likely going to get canceled. I'm kind of waiting to cancel them to see if the company just kind of dies off itself to just save me the hassle of trying to remember to cancel them. But, you know, whatever. The referral program keeps it pretty cheap for me, so it's not that big of a deal if it sticks around, but there's just not much to it. I'm never excited to see it anymore. It used to be great, now not so much. Sad to see it go, but it is what it is. Alright, moving right along. Number 15. We got Toy Den Nerds. Now this was a good box, and this is a good company too. I like these people that do this. I think they're really good people. But the only reason it gets so low on the countdown is because they don't have, what's the word I'm thinking of? They basically don't have enough of the money, I guess you could say, to make a great box. Because it's only like 2 people that run a company, and that's something they do is a box. It's not just a box company. They have a YouTube channel and all that. And there's just not enough, they're not getting enough income to create a really good box. And they're such a small company, it's hard for them to get like wholesale stuff. So everything in here was fine. It was a good box, but it's just not quite worth the value because they still have to pay full price for shipping, and after the box and shipping it ends up being like a $40 box, which is really expensive, and you got more than you paid for, but it's just kind of common stuff, and that's pretty much what you'd expect from a small company. There's nothing wrong with them, there's nothing bad about this box, but it's just a smaller company is going to not have exclusive stuff. It's going to be a lot harder for them to make themselves known and in this kind of situation in the box world. So I still think they're great people, and I still think this is a great box, but you know, it is what it is. It's a small company, so it's going to be more difficult. There's no other way to spin it but that. But I hope they keep going with it, and I hope they pick it up. So kudos to them. All right, so that was what, 15. So now we are on to number 14. Geek Gear. Now this box has been pretty good, and they have been setting themselves apart from the other companies, so they've done pretty good. The only reason this is lower in the countdown is because their main ticket item was a bag that they had, and it was like a leather bag from Game of Thrones. So the only reason it got lower is because not everyone gets the bag. It said on the description card that not everyone got that some people got something else. And for the people that didn't get that, the value drops dramatically because all the value was in that one bag. Had they made the bag available to every single person who got the box, this would have been much higher on the countdown, would have got a higher rating, higher value, all that. But I can't base my value and judgment based off what I got. I have to base it off what most people get, or the worst case scenario of what people get, because not everyone gets this special item. Even if most people do, if some people don't, I have to rate it based on that. I have to take that into consideration. So because of that, that's why it gets lower in the countdown. But last month it did much better, and next month it probably will. I'm sure that in the future they will make those items available to everyone. I'm sure, whatever the story is, I'm sure it's just they had a limited run of them. They expected to put them in all the boxes and ended up not being able to. That's just my assumption, because I don't see why they wouldn't put it in every box. But that's just, I don't have any info on it. That's just what I'm assuming. So this month they got lower in the countdown, but next month I'm sure they will be much higher because they did really good last month, and I actually really liked it. So there it is. Number 14. Now, on to number 13. Number 13 was Comic-Con box. This one's been slowly dying off as well. They started off decent, not amazing, but they got cool stuff, and the problem is this is a very expensive box. This is a $40 box, and they have no referral program whatsoever, so everyone's got to pay $40 no matter what the situation is, which kind of sucks. It's a really expensive box, and they're just not quite delivering. Everything in here was kind of crap except for the comic books. The comic books actually held really, really high value, but that's kind of it. Everything else in here was kind of garbage. The only reason it got any value or any score whatsoever was because the comics were, I guess they're rare, but they were selling for extremely high values online, which is surprising, but that's kind of what this box is known for. They get exclusive comics, exclusive covers for comics, and special comics and things like that always hold tremendous value. They really do, because I guess the box isn't that popular, so when they get something exclusive, there's not that many of them out there, so the resale market is crazy for those comics. So that's the only thing that's keeping this box around. Everything else in here was total common stuff that was not hard to find at all. So judge for what you will. If you're looking for some rare comics and you like that, then I mean, it technically is worth it just to get that. The price you paid for the box is paid for in those comics alone, and then I guess everything else is just a bonus item. So if you're into that, cool. I think this is the last one, maybe one of the last ones I'll ever get. And the story behind that basically is my credit card information got leaked out, so my credit card got canceled. I had to go to all these companies and change the info, and I just didn't do it with this company. I was going to cancel anyway, I just couldn't remember to, and that just was like fate's way of stepping in and canceling it for me. So it's going to get canceled because they're going to try and charge the old card and it just won't happen. And I'm not really sad to see it go. It's just too much to pay. Even with cool comics like that, that's just way too much to pay. It's just not reasonable. So yeah, that was number 14. Number 13. We got Loot Crate. Now normally this one's really high in the countdown, if not number 1. I think they just had a bad month, honestly. This one wasn't that great. They did a whole fantasy theme. They had a shirt in there, they had a horn, and they had some stuff in there that it just was odd choices. And it happens. No box is going to be perfect all the time. They're not going to be great all the time. But I'll give it to Loot Crate. They are good pretty much most of the time. They do a good job. So I have confidence that they'll bring it back. I think they just had an off month. And I've always said that about them. They give good value and they have exclusive stuff, but sometimes their choices are just weird. And this is the perfect example of it. It's just, no one was really a fan of it. The value wasn't super high. It was kind of low, and the things in there were weird. So it gets low on the countdown, but I guarantee next month will be right back up there. I have total confidence in this company. I think they do a really great job. So there we go. What are we on? 11? Right? Yeah. Sure. Totally losing track. I need to write the numbers on these. 11 is Comic Block. The Nerd Block company has not been doing so hot lately. They've been kind of tapering off a little bit, and I think they're doing more than they can handle. They keep releasing new boxes, and that's just too much for them to do. Either they need to grow the company, or they need to scale it back a little, because they used to have only a few boxes, and they were really great. Now they have a ton of boxes, and they're just okay. And it's like, I'd rather them go back to less choices with better quality than more choices with okay quality, because that's kind of what's happening. Same happened with Sci-Fi Block, that's why I canceled it. Same with this block. Everything in here was just extremely common. This company is usually known for getting exclusives, like comic books, figures, whatever. But now they just kind of have stuff. And it's not bad stuff, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just overly common stuff. And it's like, if you don't like it, it's kind of hard to sell it because it's just so common. Like these common pop figures. So you're lucky to get $8 for them. And then you have to pay for shipping. It's like, it just isn't really been great. This one's never been great. And from what I hear, the company is going to cancel this box. But who knows? So yeah, not the best. And, you know, not much else to say about it. So, number 10. Number 10. Arcade Block. This one's normally good as well, but this month just not so great. They've been going downhill little bits at a time, and it really is unfortunate. Like, it really is too bad to see it go that way, but you know, it is what it is. There's not much more to say about that. This stuff in here was just very common. There was not that greatest stuff in there to begin with, and the stuff in there was just not hard to find, or just didn't hold much value and just wasn't that cool. And Arcade Block's been great in the past. It really has. I've kept it around for a long time, but didn't do that great this month. And I can't remember last month was that great either. But we'll see how next month goes. And I hope this company isn't dying off because they were so great. They really have done a great job for a very long time. So hopefully we don't see that company die off because that would be very unfortunate. Alrighty. Number 9. Number 9. Comic Boxer. So, this is one of many boxes that I tried this month. By the way, I reviewed, I think, 21 boxes this month. These 17 are only what's in the countdown. There were more boxes that were reviewed. But I reviewed a lot that were either books or comic books. This one is strictly comic books, much like Comic Block used to be. It is not that anymore, but it used to be just comic books, and that's what this is. And, you know, they did fine. This is definitely a narrow market, though. So, this box isn't for everyone. But you know what you're getting going into it. It's not like it's a surprise each month. You know you're getting just comic books. So although it's a narrow market, since you know what it is going into it, that's why it's still in the countdown, because it's not for everyone, but you know what it is. And the books in here were fine. They a lot of common books, though, and they had one that was signed, but not signed by anyone very notable. It's still cool to have a signed book, and if you like comic books, like you got your value here, so there's no problem there. You got what you paid for. So that's good. That's on the good side. So that's a good thing that you're getting more than you pay for. You're getting your money back, and you're getting quality. But the only thing about it was the books in there just weren't that special. They were pretty common, and they were kind of random. So, you know, that's why it's in the middle. It wasn't bad or anything, but I don't think it's anything that someone would really go very far out of their way for. But if you like comic books and you like reading a bunch of new series each month, then totally try it out. Like, why not? All right. Number 8. Another one that's strictly comic books, and this is a company called Blindbox, from Blindbox Comics. Same situation, a box strictly for comic books. Now, I actually really liked what this company did, but they kind of made an error on their part, and that brought them down in the countdown. Because they had comic books, and just like random issues, and that was fine, and one of them was signed too, so that's really cool. The major selling point about it was one of them had artwork on there from... Name escapes me at the moment, but he was an artist for The Bravest Warrior. He's very well known, and he did artwork on individual, like, one-of-a-kind piece of artwork on a comic book in here. So every single box got an original piece of artwork, not a print, not a copy, that he hand-did himself, which is really awesome. That's really cool. But the part where they kind of screwed up is there's no authentication for it. There was nothing that's signed, there was no signature, there was no COA, there was no certificate. There was nothing in there to say, like, yeah, this person actually did that. And not that I don't believe them. I do believe them, and I trust that that guy actually did it. But you got to realize from a resale standpoint, that's where the value comes from. What it would fetch on the resale market. Not necessarily what it's worth, but what someone else would pay for it. And if you can't authenticate artwork, then there's no value there. It loses all value. If there's no signature, and especially if there's no certificate, there's nothing to say that artist actually did it. Anyone could have done it. That person did happen to do this artwork, but without any way to prove it, that brings down the value tremendously. And I think that was just a mistake on their part. I don't think they're lying about it. I don't think they're trying to fool anyone. I do believe it's artwork from that guy, but I just think they overlook the fact that they still do need to authenticate it because that's where it gets its value. So I think that was just a mistake on their part, and I hope they don't do that in the future because that's really awesome that they got someone to actually take the time to do individual pieces of artwork. I don't think any boxes have ever done that before, and I doubt any ever will. That's a pretty amazing feat, but it's just unfortunate that they kind of overlooked that, and that's just kind of sad if nothing else. So, but again, it is what it is. So what are we on? I think we're on number 7. Number 7. And that would be Comic Bento. So this one was more strictly for graphic novels. And graphic novels very rarely ever have any sort of value, resale market or anything like that. They don't increase in value like comic books do, and even most comic books don't. So graphic novels are not really for collector's sake, they're for reader's sake. And I think that's what these boxes are geared towards anyway, so that's fine. Because most of the comics in these aren't rare anyway, so it's more for the reader's sake. And I appreciate that they do graphic novels because the problem with the comic boxes, they give you like 4 to 6 issues each month, but they're all from different series. So you're starting 6 brand new series every single month, and hopefully starting off with number 1, sometimes not, but you're only reading the first issue and that's all you get. So you kind of get a teaser, and then you got to go out of your way yourself if you want to continue that story to go buy them. With graphic novels, you at least get like 4 issues, if not 6 or 10 put together, so you actually get somewhat of a complete story. Even if it's like a mini-series, you get a well-rounded story, so you get a beginning and an end. So that's the good thing about getting graphic novels. You actually get to hear a story versus just like a little snippet. It's like watching the movie versus watching the trailer. Much people would rather watch the movie and get the whole story. So that's what I appreciate about graphic novels. And graphic novels are also much more expensive. to buy new. The resale market's not high at all, but to buy them new, it's much more expensive to get graphic novels, especially when they're hardcover or anything like that. So that's why this got higher than the other ones. Nothing was rare about it. The books weren't really special. There was one graphic novel that was, the cover was a variant from Comic Bento, which is really cool. But everything else, there was only 4 books in there. There was nothing special about them, but some of them were hardcover and things like that, so that brought up the value. But I think that's really cool, and I honestly think that's a better idea for people that just want to read. So that's the difference between comic boxes. Some are for collector's sake and some are for reader's sake. Most of them for reader's sake, and it seems to make more sense to go with graphic novels. So that's why it got a little bit higher. So that was number 7. On to number 6. Moving right along, making good time. Number 6. Nerd Block Classic. And you know, I must say, this wasn't the best month, the month of April. Most of the boxes got pretty low scores, pretty low in the countdown. This one only got a 6.5, and all the other ones before that got lower than that. It really wasn't a good month for most boxes. I was very unimpressed by most of them. Nerd Block, I don't think did that great. It just got higher on the countdown because other boxes did worse. I don't think that's a good reason to be higher on the countdown, but it is because other boxes just didn't do as good, so they pushed it up. And this one was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Good items, exclusive stuff. The problem was, it was all about Weird Al. And I like Weird Al, but I grew up, I was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s, so I knew all about him. And as a kid, I was a huge fan. I'm still a big fan of his. I like his stuff. But it's definitely not for everyone. The new age of kids probably might recognize who he is, but probably don't know him nearly as well as people like my age and most of the ages of people watching this video. So for that reason, it got a little lower on the countdown because it's not for everyone. If you liked Weird Al, then you would have loved this box. But if you didn't like Weird Al, then you would have hated this box because everything was geared towards him. That's the trouble with picking such a specific theme, is because it's kind of hit or miss. If someone likes it, they love it. If someone doesn't like it, they hate it. So that's why it's good to kind of mix it up a little bit, and they kind of took a gamble here, so I appreciate it. I liked it, but from what I was hearing in the comments, a lot of people, one, either haven't heard of him, or maybe have and they're just not a huge fan, so they probably wouldn't want to collect stuff from him. So that's why it didn't get as high of a score, and it would have been lower on the countdown, but like I said, other ones just didn't do that great. Alrighty, number 5. So this is a box that I really liked. I tried out and was very skeptical on, but I was pleasantly surprised. And this is Lootaku. This is a big box, and it comes with a lot of stuff, which I really like. But the cool thing about it is it's from Hong Kong. So you get stuff from Japan, and not stuff that they bought from America and shipped back to us like a lot of foreign boxes. Stuff that you can only get in Japan or that you have to buy online and pay crazy shipping prices for. So that's what's cool about this. And I wasn't sure if I got the Maze box, but I found out I did get it, and that's an Avengers one, so I'm super excited to see what's in that, because I can't wait to see what kind of cool stuff that they have in Japan for Avengers. This one was a robot theme, and it was cool, but I didn't recognize some of it. Robots are really big in Japan, and they're somewhat big in America, so a lot of the franchises I didn't really recognize, which is unfortunate, but, you know, not their fault. That's not their problem at all. That's why I'm excited for Avengers, because I definitely will recognize everything in that. And it's really cool to get foreign stuff. So the stuff in here wasn't exclusive, but it may as well have been because it's things you can't get here in America. And it's good quality stuff too, so that's what I really like. So I'm liking these bigger boxes with rare stuff. That really makes it cool, and it held its value, and I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do next month. So yeah, that was Lootaku. One of the very few foreign boxes I like. And yeah, alrighty. Moving on to number 4. Number 4 was Loot Gaming. No, number 5? No, number 4. I'm losing count here. Jesus. All over the place. So yeah, this is number 4. So, Loot Gaming. This box was good, much better than the first box. The first one wasn't so great. I thought this one did better, it had decent value. And you know, at the end of the day, I didn't think this one was that great, to be quite honest. And normally, this would have probably been towards the middle of the countdown. But like I said, a lot of the other boxes this month just didn't do that well for April. They just kind of phoned it in. And I guess that makes sense. Like, there was no holiday, there was nothing special going on in April, really, so it makes sense that this is the month that everyone just kind of phones it in because there's nothing special going on. So hopefully May isn't like that too, but this would have been lower, but you know, it was good. Good value. I wasn't blown away by it, but it definitely had cool stuff in there and had exclusive stuff. One thing that they had in there was a beanie, which I thought was cool, but then I actually tried it on, and it was extremely tiny. Very tiny, like a toddler's beanie. Like I could barely get it over my head, and it was like up here. And I thought that was kind of weird, that the beanies are supposed to be one size fit all, but it was like a condom wrapper on my head. Like I could barely get it over the tip. Like it was awkward. So I didn't like that. It looked cool, but it's one of the things where I didn't try on at the time, and I did later, and that kind of pissed me off, because then it's useless. I can't wear it. Like, I don't know any human head that would fit in that. You gotta have a really tiny head just to get it over that. So that was kind of a bummer. So that's why I said it would have gotten lower, but it lucked out this month. Anyway, now we are in the top 3. So things to mention about the top 3 is that this is where boxes get really close. It's very, very hard to decide like 1, 2, and 3 because they're all really great boxes, so it's very competitive. So it's very difficult. And the reason I say this is because you may very well disagree with what I've put in which place. And that's perfectly fine. It's okay to disagree and have an opinion. I welcome it. So just keep that in mind that, like I said in the beginning, don't live and die by these numbers. I tried my best to put them into place. Just kind of think of it as low, mid, and high tier. This is the high tier. Any one of these boxes I'm sure you'd be happy with, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So, let's go with number 3. And number 3 was Marvel Collector Core. This was a really great box, it honestly was. And very often this gets the number 1 spot or the number 2. This is the first time it's been all the way down to number 3, and nothing wrong with it, nothing bad about it. It's just the other boxes did a little bit better. Just a tiny bit. And this one, it's always all exclusive, and it's good stuff. It's Funko, it's comics and shirts, so it's all things that are enjoyable. You basically just got to go off the theme. Wait for a theme you like, and then get that one, and then bail out on the other ones, because you're going to get the same stuff each time. Probably a pop, maybe a Dorbs, definitely a shirt, a comic, and then a patch and pin, and maybe a lanyard or something like that. The last one's always a toss-up because it's kind of a small item, but it's pretty much what's to be expected. I don't think anyone would ever be disappointed with these boxes for the most part, but you know what you're going to get every month. They kind of are systematized to it. And things in there have decent value because it's getting so popular. Even though they're exclusive, the value on them is coming down and down and down. So that's why it's kind of getting lower on the countdown. But still a fantastic box, totally worth it. And I think most people like it, and I like that theme. We'll see how they do in the next one with the Women of Marvel. That could be good, but it also could be terrible. We'll kind of have to see how that one goes. I'm a little skeptical on it, but, you know, we'll see. But it is what it is. Alright, moving on to number 2. Alright, the number 2 spot goes to Loot Crate DX. Massive box, very heavy, lots of stuff in there. I'm a really big fan of this one. This has become one of my favorite ones, and this is only the first month they've done it. Because Loot Crate is a really good company. They really know their shit. They do a good job. They get exclusive items. They really put thought into it. So most of the time, they're very good. And this is just a more expensive, better version of that. You don't necessarily get more items. You just either get bigger or better items. And by better, I mean better in quality, a little bit rarer, nicer things. Like the things in here, like we got glasses that were actually made of crystal, I believe. And normally you might get something made of plastic or glass. So now you get crystal. So it's something that's just a little bit upgraded. And same with the figure. It's just bigger in size. It's still exclusive, but it's just bigger in quality. It's a statue versus just like a little collectible figurine. So it's just bigger and better in quality. And I really like that. I like that because it sets itself apart from these other boxes. Because since it's more expensive, you can put the bigger ticket items in there and things that are physically bigger in size, because the other boxes just can't do that. The boxes are literally not big enough to hold them. And it makes sense because they're cheaper as well, so I kind of really like that. I like being able to spend a little bit more, having that option, but still getting good quality stuff. Most of the time, other boxes that are more expensive just give you more items. And that's fine, but if I want more items that are just subpar, I'll just get more boxes, as I do. If I want just common stuff, I'll just get more of that box. There's no reason to just get more items and pay more. If you're paying more, you want bigger items, you want rarer items, you want nicer quality items. And I think that's what this box does. And so far, they've done it pretty well. So, but it is very expensive. It ends up being about $50, which is very, very expensive. The most expensive box from what I've seen, but it is actually worth it. So, big risk, big gamble by paying that much, but from what I've seen, it is actually worth the money. It's just a matter of, do you want to spend that every single month? Even though it's good stuff, do you have that kind of money to just be like, $50 a month on random shit? Like, so, totally up to you whether you think it's worth it to spend $50, even though the stuff is good. It's just a personal taste type of thing. So, that brings us to the number 1 spot. Pleasantly surprised with the Bam box. And this one, it started off good. Right from the gate, it was a good box. And then it got a little bit better next month. And then this month, they did quite fantastic. Now, I can't honestly say that they'll be in the number 1 spot every month because what they did this month is pretty hard to do. And I'm sure they'll do something similar to that. And I think it's a great company and totally worth it. And they have incentives in there with signed items, and I think that's really cool. This month just happened to really hit it out of the park. They had a signed Jason mask from the original Jason, the child actor that played Jason, on a signed Jason mask, which is awesome. And they also had some artwork by Chris Uminga, who I'm a huge, huge fan of. I know him personally, and he does fantastic stuff. So you actually got a signed and numbered print by him, which is very valuable as well. And the other stuff in there was definitely good stuff, but nothing amazing, but definitely good stuff. It wasn't throwaway crap filler. It was still good items, just not as good as like the signed stuff. But yeah, you got some brass knuckles, and there was also a coin that they added into, because brass knuckles are illegal in California, which I currently reside in. So some people got a collectible coin, and I got that as well, and I wish I had it with me right now because I'd be showing it to you. Maybe I'll take a picture and upload it later. But anyway, I thought it sounded weird, but it was actually a really cool coin. It was a zombie one, and the way they pressed it and the detail on it was actually very, very nice. I was thoroughly impressed by that. So I was disappointed when I heard that some people might not get the brass knuckles, but when I actually saw the quality of that coin, it was very impressive. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. But regardless of that, it was just one small item. Everything else was cool. I think everyone would love the signed Jason mask. Even if you're not a horror fan, you'd have no problem selling that online, honestly, and getting like a decent amount for it. You really would, because there's people that would be dying to get that. Same with Chris Uminga. To sell that print, no problem. He's extremely well known. He has thousands of pieces. Very, very well known artist. So to have something both signed and numbered by him, very, very difficult to do, and is extremely valuable. So those two together really made this special. Something that no other box, or rarely does. To get signed stuff is a very rare thing from boxes. This company does it all the time. They own an auction company where they auction off signatures, so I'm assuming they're in contact with a lot of people, so it comes easier to them, and that's what sets them apart. The only way you're going to survive in the unboxing game is to have something different. And that's what they do. So if you like signed stuff, this is definitely the company to go with, because that's kind of their selling point. And they showed that this month. So in the future, we've always gotten signed stuff, but in the past it's been like very minor people, but this month happened to be very well-known people. And there's also incentives. I don't know if it's still 1 in 10, but when the company started out, 1 in 10 boxes got an assigned incentive. And I got one once, and it was a comic signed by Chris Hemsworth, so it's very well-known people, and that's really cool as well. So the fact that you might get that special box is just an extra incentive, too. So I thought that's very cool, and I'm a big fan of this company. And I can't wait to see what they do next month. I really like the signed stuff. It makes it special, it makes it personal, and I think they make good choices. So anyway, that was the countdown. I hope my numbers were right. I kind of lost track somewhere in the middle there. But anyway, 17 boxes, that was the countdown, 17 to 1. I hope that helps you in some way. And feel free, if there's any boxes you know out there that you're curious about, you want to see a review on, hit me up, send me a message, leave a comment, say, hey, I've always wondered about this box. Chances are I probably already reviewed it if it's been around, because I'm pretty up on it. If it's a new company, I probably haven't heard of it, so send me a link and I will do my best to try that box out and to help you guys out. So, and always feel free to leave comments, constructive criticism on what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear, anything like that. I'm open to it, because at the end of the day, this is all about helping you guys out. I'm trying to be helpful just like people were for me, so that's all it is. And feel free to jump in the comments and jump on the community. We have a great community here with tons of people, great people that keep this channel running. So anyway, this has been the Beardy Nerd, and this has been the April Countdown. I tried to keep this short, but we'll get right away started on the boxes I've made, hopefully be able to catch up. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Love you all. Peace.